Hello, hello, hi everybody.
Hey, so let's see.
They've
All
changed the
live here.
restream UI, I think. Oh no, here. All right, we're back. Something feels different about this live in the corner.
Perfect. Yeah. Well, I was told last time that this my chair because the virtual background it kind of looks like my hair sometimes. I don't know. I didn't think so, but I was told that. So I'm gonna try to see. I'm not actually by a pool. I wish I'm in my bedroom. Um, but yeah, we'll see if
just
this improves.
just massive flow, just like the biggest
Massive flow.
afro tucked back. That'd be funny.
Right. Right. Well, I guess so. I mean, we have 30 minutes here, like normal. There's like two big things that we wanted to share with everybody. And I know there's been a lot in the news too. This week has been like so much stuff has happened in the AI world from Claude 3.7 and everything there. So we're not probably going to touch on any of that stuff, but like I could say that Claude 3.7 Sonnet um, Sonnet 3.7 has just been game changing in terms of like its ability to code. I wrote our whole test suite for our backend last night, letting it just go off. We were flying blind for a majority of those test cases, and that kind of now we have tests in a lot of areas that we didn't have previously. So that's pretty cool. So yeah,
That's awesome. Well, how would you quantify the step forward? Because I mean, I think we were both using Sonnet 3.5, right? So
yeah, 3.5 new versus
3.5 new,
3.5, which
3.5
is
new. So what's the
hilarious.
leap now to 3.7? Is it like maybe like how many hours a week is it saving you, or like how would you quantify the impact that's having on your work?
It's hard to tell right now. The benchmarks, what it says is that 3.7 is just anywhere from like 15 to 20% more, uh, can complete more tasks. So on the SWE benchmark, it gets, I think, around 62% versus 50% on the previous generation. So like O1, O3 mini, no, O3 high, uh, Claude Sonnet 3.5 new. Those are all getting around 50% on SweBench, which is a benchmark that essentially takes a bunch of GitHub issues, so real life coding tasks, and they're not in the training set. They're like real. They're things that people are actually submitting today because so they're not in the training. And it got like 62% on those versus 50, which was state of the art just a week ago. So huge step function forward, and it was just mainly because it was trained on a lot of real life uh, issues and actual um,
Cool,
coding tasks. So versus competitive programming, which was in the past.
cool, cool. Well, yeah, I mean, just I guess for the audience, like just like it must be kind of interesting to know how we're building this thing, right? And like what tools we're using and how just like just as much as we're trying to change how AI podcasting or how podcasting works, um, there's even other people behind the scenes working on changing how starting a company works, right? How writing software works. So it's kind of wild to see all the innovation happening in the stack when you go across.
Right,
So that's
right.
pretty
I
cool.
wrote a little. I wrote a little thing yesterday on LinkedIn, and it was pretty interesting. I just thought, or the other day on LinkedIn. I occasionally like to blog, and this I just posted there. But yeah, it really is groundbreaking. I mean, if pretty much the moral of the story is that if you ever had an idea, um, and you wanted to build something, but were intimidated by the learning curve required to learn the basics of programming, even to just get started, that's kind of is gone now. I mean, no longer do you have to spend months learning the basics of programming, but you can just go watch like a hour or two on how to set up your computer with a cursor, or even a higher level tool like lovable.dev or Bolt, and really go from idea to something that you can share with your friends in just a matter of hours now. And that's just super cool. So the learning curve has flattened. Anybody can get started. And so for all those people that are non-technical, that's really awesome. They can validate their ideas. They don't have to invest a lot of time before they can even know if what they want to build is worth building, because they can do that really fast. But on the other side, for people like us building JellyPod, um, this accelerates our ability to develop faster, more efficiently, and at the end of the day, just make more features more quickly that are higher quality to going to you. So that's something that every day, every week that goes on, um, we take shortcuts to be able to deliver new features quickly. I think last month we were able to deploy 9 new features in a matter of 4 weeks, and that's pretty big. And the team is just us two, so you can see this acceleration of the ability to develop product. And this is really exciting for both us and you because it's really opened up the aperture of what is possible with such a lean team, with such a limited time frame, and just allow us to take in the feedback that you give us, our audience, all our users, and really implement that more quickly into the roadmap as long as it aligns with our product vision and where we see the jellypod going. So that's just been really cool for me. It blows my mind every time I jump into the code and start building something new, how quickly I can get it done compared to just 2 years ago.
Yeah, I'd love your thoughts on this on this one sort of like these two phenomenon that seem to be, I think, where I'm fuzzy is in the middle of these two phenomenon. So on one side, it's easier than ever to get the prototypes out, right? Like just as you just said, like an idea to something has never been faster. But on the other side, I feel like on the on the bleeding edge of building things, being a sound engineer has never been more important, right? It's like, and those two things seem to be a bit at odds with one another, right? There's this middle where you're kind of like in no man's land. So how do you think about that? Do you think it's possible to, can people build enough ideas to prototypes to then learn enough to jump to make the leap to that quality engineer, or do you see that sort of almost creating like a bifurcation of software where you're going to have like lots of easy apps and then almost like the old like less regulated app store days where there was just like so many apps, or I don't know. How do you see those two phenomenon fitting together?
Yeah, I think that it's never been more important to have a solid understanding of engineering principles, but I don't think those necessarily come out with knowing how to code. So engineering, there are problems that you face from how do you structure and build something that's complex from a very high level down. So if you're trying to build a complicated web application or something, you need to kind of have an understanding of everything across the stack. Authentication, emails, front end, back end, and have what I like to call like a very T-shaped um, knowledge in this. So like you're very deep. You have like the foundation. You have the fundamentals, but you have such broad knowledge across everything. Like um, so you know how to do it all. Like wear all these hats. And I think that you're going to be people that come in and start to create these new apps using AI. They don't need to know that stuff. So um, I live in a world where I believe that art of programming, is going to eventually go away. So you don't need to know the implementation details, the syntax, and what to do. You can just talk to it in English. But you need to know, at least at the end of the day, how to communicate those ideas. So if you don't know like what an API is or like the difference between front end and back end or some like high level concepts, you're going to struggle a lot in the places and the areas that AI is not going to be able to read your mind. So it can make assumptions just like, if we were talking or you're talking to your manager who maybe is less technical than you. Um, if you're not able to explain why you're having trouble in a certain area, and use precise language, you're going to hit a roadblock. However, what's super cool is that roadblock now comes much faster. So you're able to actually get to that point, and you're actually able to have something that is like you could validate. You could have a game running on a server somewhere. You could have a web app. You could have a mobile app. And at the point where there's enough traction or enough users, or you kind of have some thought around, hey, what I want to build is important and people want it, then then it's time. It validates that you can go and invest some time yourself to learn more concepts, higher, like deeper, and go a little bit deeper on that stack. Um, or hire somebody. I think you've seen startups nowadays accelerate in their ability to be revenue generating very quickly. So, um, yeah, I mean, everybody gets a black belt nowadays. I think that's a good analogy. Like, you have a master right at your fingertips, but it's not going to be the one. He's not going to be like reading your mind. So you still have to be able to communicate well, solve problems, use all the tools at your disposal, know when the right tool, when the tool that you're using is wrong, and that you have to take a step back and be like, hey, like let me not just go down this rabbit hole and be lost in this like circle of um, debugging struggles, taking a step back, restarting, knowing when the tool that you're using is wrong, and being able to identify that. I think that's the core thing, is like knowing when a problem is hard versus easy, and differentiating what type of problem you're currently working on. Definitely, I think is probably one of the most important skills in this new era
Got
of AI programming.
got it. So
So
if I were to distill that down to that original, like sort of this these opposing phenomenon, they're not really that. Like the thing that unifies them together is that the, for lack of a better word on the spot here, like the narrow details have never been less important, but the principles that govern the whole thing have never been more important.
right,
So now, instead of spending 8 hours watching syntax videos, you spend 8 hours watching videos about the architectures that happen in applications, and then you apply those learnings as if you're explaining almost academically to somebody else what you're after.
right,
Um, but the AI enables you to actually execute on it.
yeah,
That's pretty
exactly,
cool.
yeah.
That's pretty cool.
So that's cool, and I guess those principles kind of allow us to build quickly. And I mean, this past week we had two decent sized features. It
Huge,
wasn't.
huge.
Yeah,
I put
I
that to you, like,
mean,
you don't give yourself enough credit ever, and I'm gonna give you all the credit in the world. Two massive improvements.
yeah. So I mean, I think that like one of the first ones, if when you log into JellyPod, so the first thing you see now, it used to be podcasts, like all your podcasts. It's pretty empty if you're a new user. You just see like a create new podcast sort of page. But now you have a dashboard that has your podcasts, your hosts, and some informational videos to get started. So this is your new home, where you can see all the shows that you've created, all your hosts, and three core videos that we think are very important for um, for people that are maybe just getting started on JellyPod, want to up their game. Um, and that's right there. So you have a new dashboard there, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, I think that's going to be huge just for helping people get started. And I mean, we see this all like time and time again with context switching. People come in, they get excited, they finish halfway through the flow, they come out, they come back a few days later, and they're like, "Oh, where do I go again? Like,
Right.
was it posts? Was it podcasts? Was it episodes?" That's why I think this dashboard is going to be a big unlock for them, because now the walkthrough video is always present. At first, it was only visible at first run, um, but then also just like getting a quick lay of your land. Oh, I don't have a host, or I only have one default host, or something along those lines.
Right.
And then the second coolest thing is, I think, also huge. Um,
Yeah.
like
I
the
mean, there was oftentimes you got a lot of messages that uh, podcast creation was broken, um, and we would say, "Hey, like, are you using a mobile device?" And oftentimes that was the reason. And unfortunately, we from launch we weren't supporting mobile just because if you've ever used JellyPod on a desktop, there's this multi-pane approach where you have the outline on the left, your transcript editor, and the preview on the right. And it takes up a lot of real estate, and it's kind of hard to figure out a way to deliver that same experience on mobile. But from yesterday, this got released to everybody. So now mobile podcast generation works. You'll be able to edit your outline and generate a podcast and edit your transcript and publish. So end to end on mobile devices. So now there's hopefully not going to be anybody that messages us that you can't generate a podcast. And then we won't have to ask, hey, are you on a mobile device? So.
And I mean, that's obviously the like, the root pain that you were trying to address. But I think that this is also just a major unlock. A lot of people use, we see this time and time again from even like our most engaged customers. And it's that they'll often use JellyPod as a way to podcast on the go, whether that be when they're traveling or, like for work, they're out and about. And they have the inspiration. They have the idea for something away from their computer. They're in a coffee shop. They're at a conference. And now you can take that insight, that swirling thought we always talk about, and now you don't have to wait for it to escape your head. You can just immediately come down and start using it. And I think this is just the first step. I mean, like we've talked a bunch about what we want to do with mobile use cases. So, I mean, I think this is one small step, but one giant leap for mobile podcasting.
No, totally. It was interesting. I remember I talked to one of our customers who took a book that he wrote, and he said he was sitting by the pool and on his phone, and he was able to get it done, which is really interesting to me. So maybe he figured out a way to turn his phone sideways and like get it done. But I know that experience wasn't great. But now that experience hopefully is great. So you could just publish your podcast, create and publish your podcast all from your phone. I'm not a big phone user, but I know a lot of people are. I know you are. So now we can do it.
Yeah. To me, like the mobile world is just such an awesome way of fusing. Because like the desktop, you're so like it's almost like when you're in desktop mode, that's everything. Your mind is in the virtual world, right? You're on the internet. But like mobile enables you to sort of incorporate it into your life in such cool new ways.
Right.
So now that combined with AI, right, it just makes you. That's been the knock on mobile for so long. Is that it's great, you get to fuse it with your life, but it's not as powerful.
Right.
And I think what's cool, but AI makes it so much more powerful now. So
yeah, no, that's awesome. It was actually cool. So last Thursday, I went down to Orange County to demo JellyPod at the inaugural Orange County AI Tinkerers meetup. So AI Tinkerers is this global organization now, and maybe it's over 100 different cities worldwide, but it's in a lot from Seattle, San Francisco, New York, London, Singapore, like everywhere. Orange County just had their inaugural meeting on Thursday, and I was able to demo JellyPod there. It actually was inside of a data center. The meetup, which was pretty cool. It was my first time ever being inside a data center. Super high security, a lot of fans, and it was an awesome experience. But it was super cool to meet all these other AI builders and just people who are currently in the weeds of using this technology to build stuff. And so just JellyPod is something that I demoed there, and I'm super involved in that work. So super cool. That was an awesome experience. So if you're building with AI and you're watching this video, check out AI Tinkerers. It's an awesome place. They do meetups about once a month in so many cities. It's likely that they're near you. So yeah.
Very cool. All right, so we've touched on mobile and on dashboards. I mean, I guess if anybody has any questions in the audience right now, feel free to drop them in the chat. what else can we talk about? Is there anything that you want to share that's perhaps forward looking, or anything like anything gets sparked by that?
I think there's like I have a to-do list like right here. It's always funny, this massive piece of paper. I like my paper still on my to-do list, but we track everything on a roadmap anyway. But I think that there's been some core things around video that's going to be soon. So that's been asked for. It's under development now. And they'll be coming soon. So keep your eyes peeled for that. There'll be probably a rolled out phased approach. We're still debating on how that'll be implemented. So video with different templates, pretty cool there. So you don't have to use another platform to make your audiograms or make your YouTube videos. You can do it all in JellyPod. But yeah, that's I guess one.
That's awesome. That's awesome. You have this knack of talking about very difficult things that you do, and as if it was like putting your shoes on by the door. It's like, oh yeah, I went ahead and rebuilt all of our testing overnight.
I didn't do it. Sonnet did. It was great.
Well, go Sonic, go. Yeah, that's awesome. Okay, cool. Let's see what else. Yeah, I guess no questions this time around. But for those who are probably going to be watching it on the replay, feel free to ask questions and join our Discord. We will engage with everybody there. And thank you for the, like what was the coolest thing? Like this past week in our Discord, there was a YouTuber who had mentioned our channel, like who had mentioned our product, and like the Discord was like they broke the news, and the YouTuber was blown away because they're just doing a live stream and it was unplanned, and so that was pretty cool. So
that was cool.
Big shout out to the Discord.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So yeah, that big shout out to everybody that's in there. If you're not in there, join. People share their podcasts. Want to kind of get that more engaging. I think try and build a community there of like people sharing, critiquing podcasts, and like helping each other grow. That's kind of like the end goal here. I was talking to a friend the other day about our ability as a platform to really understand trends globally and best practices in terms of audio and video generation. Like what are like the things that we can do on the JellyPod side that will help everybody. So if we can learn something from somebody based on feedback, based on performance, based on like any of these little levers that we can see, we can distribute those globally to all of our users. So like the whole platform and the system itself improves over time. So maybe your podcast, you made some cool edits to it. And we can kind of understand like the type of edits and make it better for everybody, so that certain words aren't repeated as much, and just overall improve the system. And then when this goes into video is something that I think a lot of people struggle with in terms of captions, on screen, colors, all these different things to really create high quality video. And so we can imagine a future where we understand, like we have this global view over video performance, and can help you automatically improve the content that you're creating because our system is able to take in all that data from what's performing well on YouTube or TikTok or anything else and reintegrate it back into future podcasts or future pieces of content that you create. So that's also something I'm pretty excited about, that data flywheel, and how that'll help every one of our users succeed more on JellyPod. So, yeah.
Very cool. Well, I mean, seems like there's no questions. I mean, if you're down, we can end it 5 minutes early. And unless you have any thoughts.
Yeah, I think we could end it early today. I kind of want to just I just wonder if the people that are watching this would like to be in like a more like a closed webinar type thing too, or in addition to something like this. But we could discuss that
Oh
offline.
yeah,
Um,
yeah, that's a good point. Something
get
where
them
it's
in.
it's
I know these four people. We have like four watchers right now, so I mean, um, it's I never comment on a live stream or ask questions. I just kind of want to listen. But maybe if we're all in a chat together, it'd be cool. So
that would be cool.
yeah.
I guess the one thing that sparks for me, from my perspective, is if you folks want to see more of this type of, like, if there are things that you explicitly want from like a community building perspective, where like that's one example that Pearson just dropped. But if something else comes to your to mind, like something around like perhaps some sort of program around sharing your podcasts and seeing I don't know. So if anything comes to mind, please do share them. We want to invest in the community as much as into the product itself.
Totally. Totally. Sweet. Okay. I think we could probably just cut this short. So yeah, we'll see everybody next week and we'll